Howdy and welcome to the Junction cast. We are back once again. I'm David Francis. I'm joined by Rob White.
Yep, how's it going, guys?
And we're back. Going to talk some baseball. Going to talk some football. Going to talk some opinions, as we always do. And we hope you enjoy the show. Feel like this one's special.
Yeah, there's a lot going on right now, so probably some good content.
Absolutely, as always. We're going to jump right into it and talk about the 1-0 postseason Astros.
Oh, yeah.
Killing it today, beating the Boston Red Sox 8-2. Jose Altuve hit 3 solo home runs, one of which was right after Alex Bregman hit a solo home run to open the game. In the first, the Astros led it 2-0. Red Sox came back, tied it 2-2, was tied 2-2 for a little while, and then the Astros used the star power and just kind of ran away with the show.
They looked absolutely fantastic today. I mean, it seemed like everything was clicking on offense, especially after about the fourth inning. The team was really into what they were doing. They looked really good. I was really impressed.
They did. They looked very good. I had been doing some reading about the playoffs and whatnot. I didn't watch a lot of MLB baseball this season. For, I guess, obvious reasons. I mean, it's always a letdown with the Astros. But, I mean, this team feels different. A lot of the things I read seem to think that it was really kind of a good offensive team, good offensive star power, but not a very good defensive team is kind of what people kept telling me and what I kept reading and whatnot. So I felt good today when there was a lot of really good defensive stuff happening.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. I mean, I feel like the guys really did a good job limiting damage when they could, especially early on in the game when it looked like the Red Sox might be able to swing the momentum a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And, he's been doing this all season from everything I've seen, but Alex Bregman is just one of the best defensively sound baseball players I've ever seen.
Fun story about Alex. I really enjoy that kid because he's from New Mexico.
Yeah.
Went and played for LSU. Kind of whatever about that, but I'm really happy that he's playing for the Astros.
Wasn't a big fan of him when he was at LSU.
Oh, no.
For obvious reasons.
Oh,
he was a very, very good baseball player, was very highly regarded in college, and, everybody knew it, that, this kid was for real and he was the big time. And then obviously, got drafted by the Astros and worked his way through a farm system really, really quickly. And has found himself not only in a starting role, but I mean he's the second spot in the batting lineup. He's hitting I don't know what his average is right now. It's good. Obviously on a very good offensive team hitting second, you have to be kind of in that position where you're hitting pretty well, and he has been lately. Because I remember early on in the season, every time I saw him, it was he was hitting like 7th or 8th, kind of in the bottom of the order, which not a indictment on how good you hit. I mean, you have to spread out the talent throughout the lineup, but obviously, I mean, that talent's being really, really recognized when you're hitting in between George Springer and Jose Altuve.
Yeah, no, he currently is batting 284 up to this point.
Yeah, that's good.
And that's very good, especially considering he did start off pretty cold, and then he just really has ramped it up over the last couple of months. So I've been really impressed with his development as a player, and I think that he's just fitting really well into this lineup.
Yeah, and I mean, to finish with at least the Astros, I mean, what Jose Altuve did today was incredible.
Oh,
he went
doubt.
3 for 4 with 3 solo home runs, and each one of them may have been off of a different pitcher. I don't know because I can't remember how far Sale went into the game. But the first 2 were, I mean, just kind of barely over. I mean, they were home runs. It was clear, but it's the highest part where you could hit a home run over in left center field at Minute Maid Park. And the third one was a monster.
Yeah.
The third one was crushed over the railroad tracks. I mean, it was just a gigantic home run, and just like a huge exclamation point to the, hey, we're the Astros and we're for real. We're a real baseball team.
Yeah, I'm very happy with the way Altuve is playing. I mean, for the love of God, like right whenever this game started, he came in right after Bregman hit his home run, and you could hear chants of MVP.
Right, and
all
they
around
didn't.
the park.
Yeah, and they didn't stop. Obviously, after that, he hits that home run. They don't stop. He comes back up, and I can't remember if it was his second at bat or third at bat when he, didn't hit a home run.
Yeah, it's
but
his second one he grounded into a double play.
Every single at bat after that, it just got louder and louder. And of course, after the third one, he came out and did his little head nod and whatever to the crowd, and they ate that up. And that crowd was excited.
Yeah.
That crowd was insane. It was really, really cool, being someone who's I've been to a lot of games at Minute Maid Park, and that game was crazy. Those people were going nuts, and I love it.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to see. I mean, with the city that's been having to deal with all this other stuff.
Absolutely.
It's really cool for them. I mean, very reminiscent of the Saints after Katrina. I
mean,
oh,
heck yeah.
Like, fans really getting
I hadn't thought
team.
about that kind of parallel, but yeah.
Yeah, no, this city of Houston's really rallied behind this baseball team and really started to push them along.
They've
They're looking
taken
good.
They've taken that kind of image that it was the perfect. I mean, I don't want to say the perfect storm, right? Because Harvey.
Sure.
But I mean, it was like they were a good baseball team that kind of were doing the Astros thing, right? They were really good at the beginning of the season, then kind of falling off a little bit, and then right around when all that stuff kind of happened was when they just like secretly, right? Because the Cleveland went into their thing, and like right before that, the Dodgers had been doing their thing. But the Astros kind of very like under the radar, get Justin Verlander, and then just start ripping people to pieces. Like the last series against the Red Sox was nasty. They went to Boston and murdered the Red Sox after having gone to Arlington and murdered the Rangers. I mean, it was the last little bit of the season under the radar for whatever reason. The Astros looked really, really good.
And that's what you got to do going into the playoffs. I mean, you can have the best record in baseball, but all of a sudden, if you're starting to plateau,
right,
down the stretch, it's not good. The fact that this team is warming up going into the playoff,
it feels right. I mean, it feels really good. They ripped apart Chris Sale today, who's a absolutely fantastic pitcher. Justin Verlander had his fair share of troubles, which, I mean, don't really know what to make of that yet. It's one game and it's baseball. Things happen. So we'll see how that goes down the stretch. Do you have a insight for us as to who you foresee playing in and winning the World Series?
So I made my predictions on Twitter a little while ago, but I think at this point, my World Series is going to be the Diamondbacks and the Astros, with the Astros winning in 6, winning it at home.
Man, picking the wild card.
Well, the reason I'm going to go Diamondbacks is just the way they have looked over the past several months. The last couple of months against the Dodgers, they have absolutely owned them.
Right.
So I think that there's a really good possibility that the Diamondbacks are going to do what they need to do to get this job done.
The other National League Series is the Cubs and the Nationals. That's right. Who do you think's coming out of that one?
See, that one's a tough pick for me because, I mean, the Cubs obviously are pretty warm. They always are.
Right.
But, I like the Nationals as well. So I think I might go Nats on this one. I'm thinking Nats and Diamondbacks. I think the Astros will my hope is that you're going to get the Astros against the Yankees because I think the Yankees might have something to do against the Indians. And if that happens, I think the Astros are golden against the Yankees. I think they'll be okay.
Well, very good. I haven't watched enough nearly to make a prediction, but why the heck not? I think that it is just obvious to me that I think whoever comes out of the AL is going to win it, and I think is going to win it pretty handily, just because I think the pitching just seems so much better. But also, I mean, the Astros and the Indians just seem like the two best well-rounded teams. The Dodgers seem streaky. They do seem to me to be the best team, though
when they are the best, like when they're good.
Though I have to say that I if I had to put money on it, which I would never do because I don't watch baseball enough to do that. Don't bet on things you're not an expert in, or at least somewhat knowledgeable, is my advice. My guess is that it's going to be Cubs and either the Indians or the Astros. My hope is that it's the Cubs and the Astros, because obviously I want the Astros to win. That's a given. But I mean, the Indians have looked very, very good. Mm-hmm. The question is, can they keep it going? They're winning right now. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see how their series play out. We'll see how the Astros series with the Red Sox plays out. And then obviously tomorrow night, all the National League stuff starts. So it's going to be a very interesting next couple months through October, November for the MLB playoffs. And, I mean, whoever ends up at the World Series, it'll be a fun time nonetheless.
Pretty exciting.
Move on to football. Obviously, we tend to like to talk about football here.
A little bit.
We're going to start NFL and then get down to the college level. As far as the NFL goes, currently the Buccaneers are playing the Patriots. And I don't know if anybody has noticed here, but we tend to like Texas A&M. I don't know if you've noticed.
No way.
A little bit, just a little bit. We're
about.
Kind of partial to the Aggies. And, rookie Aggie, Justin Evans, actually got an interception tonight, picked off Tom Brady. That's got to feel good.
Oh, absolutely. Got to be feeling real good for him. I mean, kid was amazing when he was here. I mean, he was probably one of the most physical guys on our defense, was always in there making plays.
Was very physical. I mean, was absolutely very, very physical.
Yeah. Very, very happy for him right now.
Yeah. Obviously, again, the Patriots taking on the Buccaneers tonight. Patriots currently winning 16-7 in the fourth, though the Buccaneers obviously still in it. I mean, it's not a foregone conclusion. I mean, there's a 9-point game early in the fourth. So obviously see what happens in that game. The real reason I care about the NFL though is because of fantasy. Sure. We have neglected, and are just huge mistake. We have neglected to talk about our fantasy teams on the podcast before. Big shame. Very much us to blame.
Yeah.
But we can remedy that. I currently am in a 14-team league.
A whoop. Sorry.
God. I should have known.
I
should have known. I'm in a 14-team league. My team has been They haven't been good, but they haven't been terrible. I'm 2-2 currently. I'm tied for second in my division, and I'm playing another guy who is also 2-2 and is tied for second in my same division. And it's actually a close game currently. We both have 3 people playing tonight in the Patriots-Buccaneers game, one of which I was the most excited about. Now, I'll say I feel very foolish because I started Jameis Winston. That was a mistake. He has not been very good tonight. My biggest just joy right now about this is that I started Doug Martin, was finally able to start Doug Martin after his suspension, and he's got me 14.2 points tonight. So
that works.
Very happy with Doug Martin. I was the idiot who listened to everybody that said to draft Isaiah Crowell of the Browns, and I was an idiot for doing that, thinking that would ever do anything good for me. It did not. Mm-hmm. And he's been, just a pretty useless player on my team. Was very happy to get Doug Martin back, and 14 points as a running back was very helpful. And we'll see whatever the outcome is of this week, but very happy he's back and looking like the Doug Martin that showed up in the preseason when everybody kind of thought he was just going to take over the league at that point. Looked great in the preseason. Obviously has continued to look good here in his first game. Yeah. Rob, how's your fantasy team doing?
So at the moment, I'm currently top of my division. I'm sitting at 3-1.
There you go.
Cruising along pretty good. And funny enough, I actually missed my draft day, so I ended up just getting auto drafted. And my team's kicking some buddy. Yeah.
Sometimes that helps. Like what I've noticed is we have our league, and last season was my first season to play fantasy football like legit.
Yeah.
I'd done it before, but I basically auto drafted and then never paid attention. Last season I did a little bit of draft research, actually went into it, had a lot of fun, and I'm back for round 2 after winning my league last season, which was really cool, being first time and everything, which totally didn't help not develop a addiction to fantasy football. But so I came back and again did about the same amount of draft prep, reading about players and looking up strength of schedule and all that good stuff. And what I found is all of my draft strategy really hinged on the fact of having 14 people all drafting, whereas we had like 8 or 9 people auto draft. And that really screws up a conventional draft strategy because they're just drafting the next highest player instead of a player they need. So it really wrecked my strategy because during the draft, I had to like on the fly be like, okay, well, in theory, this guy should be here, but he got drafted 2 rounds ago. Now what? Mm-hmm. So it was this really weird, process. My draft was not very good. I would be fairly surprised if I made the playoffs. And I honestly believe I haven't made any big trade yet. I really believe that I'm gonna have to make some big trade to get into the playoffs in my league, probably.
There you go.
But we'll see how that works out. See how the rest of the NFL season works out.
Sure.
But let's be honest, Rob. We don't really care about the NFL.
Not really, no.
The NFL is not our game. It's not why we come to the dance. We come to the dance for the 18 to 22-year-olds that are young and athletic.
We're not creepers, we promise.
A little bit. We are big fans of the college game, as is no secret to those of you that have listened to the show before. And this week, we have a new segment. A brand new segment for you. It has just such an interesting and amazing name that I'll trademark, because it's so creative. It's called Thumbs Up or Thumbs Down.
Ooh.
And basically, I know you're shaking in your seat over there, Rob.
Oh yeah.
The premise of this game is each week gonna have kind of a subtopic of just things, right? Of maybe events or maybe certain happenings or whatever around college football, and we'll go through them. And we're going to give them a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Now, this will make sense as we go through them, which ones you'll want to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
Sure.
And it's just a fun little thing. To start, I really thought like we needed something big. I really thought like we needed a catalyst, if you will, to get this one really kicked off. So this week, on Thumbs Up or Thumbs Down, we're going to be talking about all of the ridiculous shenanigans that have been going on during and more towards after the games of college football games. So I've got my first example for you right here. Thumbs up or thumbs down to the Troy wide receiver after he grabbed his crotch and showed his middle finger to all the LSU fans when Troy upset LSU in Death Valley on Saturday.
Yeah, so I understand. You're a small Sun Belt school. I understand that you just broke a streak that has been untouched for 49 games. You have absolutely done a beautiful job at bottling up an SEC school at home at night when theoretically this is like the greatest environment in college football.
Yeah.
I'm going to give that a thumbs down.
That's a thumbs down.
That's not okay. I'm sorry. You're having fun, but your happy butt's probably going to be on the bench next week because that's probably not okay.
I tend to agree. I am actually, and I know this is wrong because this is just the wrong way to think, but part of me, out of spite of the way college football kind of works now, wants to give this a thumbs up because like college football is getting so overrun with these rules and, oh, we're just trying to crack down on everybody doing everything. It's like this guy is just like emotional. And also just something to say about where we are in college football. At what point did we expect the 18 to 22-year-olds to be like the shining members of society?
Yeah,
like,
right.
At what point did we expect kids that are going to school, most of them primarily because of football skill and not necessarily because of their academic prowess? Now, believe me, this is not an indictment on college football players.
No.
That they're dumb. They're not. A lot of them are very, very smart. But a lot of them are also more, their specialty is football. It is not the classroom.
They're more attuned to the field. That's where their intelligence is.
Absolutely.
And that's fine.
Oh, absolutely, because there's a giant market called the NFL and the CFL and all those other things that they can go and that's where they can make their living, and that's fantastic and good for them. But when did we expect, like, if I walked into a college classroom and or not even college, let's just use the football stadium. Like, there was a fight at the Tennessee football game between two Tennessee fans.
Oh, yeah.
Like, at what point in your mind did you get to who should we look to for like guidance and, our morality? I know. Let's look to the 18-year-olds. Let's look to the children. They know how to, be respectful and everything.
Yeah, no, that's not a good
It
spot.
makes very little sense. However, because of my beliefs of right and wrong and just what's obscene, I'm going to have to give that a thumbs down to the Troy wide receiver.
Well, see, and I think the shenanigans are fine, and I understand that, but there are other ways to go about it.
Oh, yeah. We've got a couple more.
Sure.
Number 2 here on Thumbs Up or Thumbs Down. Thumbs up or thumbs down to the Texas A&M wide receiver running through the tunnel a couple weeks ago, flipping the birds.
So I'm going to initially say thumbs down, but once I actually got some context on what was actually going on, I don't mind it. I mean, I guarantee you it would not have been an issue had there not been a camera there.
100%.
100%. That's, I think, because, for those of you who don't have the context, basically this guy was walking into the locker room and he flipped double birds up to his buddies. Is
that confirmed, or
that's
that's kind of what's been explained?
Yeah.
Is what has kind of been the story is, hey, calm down. He's not flipping the student section there underneath the tunnel is also right next to the visitor section.
Yeah.
So the thought was, oh, he's flipping off these opposing fans. It was the Louisiana game, the Louisiana Lafayette game. Yep. And it was like, oh no, he's flipping off the Louisiana Lafayette fans. No, apparently he was like, joking with his buddies or whatever, being college guys being dudes.
Yeah,
I'm gonna.
Yeah, I know that because college kids do that to each other, like, "Hey, f you," whatever. That's
right.
a normal thing. I get that.
I'm gonna have to say thumbs down.
That's fair.
Only because if I joked around with my friends like that, I certainly wouldn't joke around with my friends like that, like in front of my parents.
That's not in public, yeah.
Right, like maybe even in public. If if me and my friends like call each other, names or whatever, it's like I might call you that if we're like sitting down at Chili's or whatever. But like if we're at like a party and like my parents and like other people that are kind of adults are there, I'm not gonna be like, hey, and then start cursing out my friends. Not that I do that anyways, but. I'm going to have to go thumbs down on that one.
That's fair.
For the Texas A&M football player. But I am going to go thumbs up on friendship.
Yeah, friendship's always good.
You want to have friendship? Man, thumbs up on friendship.
Yeah, friendship's good.
Here is where we're going to probably start, being able to raise our thumbs. The NC State player, after upsetting Florida State, went to the middle of the field at Florida State. They have, the Seminole. And he just, nice reared back and just spit. Right in the center of the Seminole, right there at the 50-yard line at Florida State. Thumbs up or thumbs down?
See, I have a hard time giving that one a thumbs up, just because, it is a game of respect, and when you do something like that, like, oh hey, like I think you guys are all hot garbage. I'm going to give your little logo. a little bit of a spit. Then again, Florida State plants a spear on the same dang spot.
Right.
So, it's that's a toughie.
I am 100% thumbs up on
You're
this.
okay?
Whenever this happened, a lot of people were kind of like angry about it, like, oh, how dare he disrespect. It's like, again, this is my whole thing is like, you're making college football less fun. Like, A, did he hurt anyone? No. B, did he cause any real damage to anything? No. The only negative thing that could come out of this is that guy hurting his reputation.
Which he
did. But I'm thumbs up on that 100% because the fact of the matter is, if you walk into somebody else's stadium, we're gonna get to more of this in the next one.
I have a feeling.
Yeah, you can infer. If you walk into somebody else's stadium and beat them down, especially you being NC State and then being Florida State, like if you're able to do that and you can pull that off. Man, I don't got any problem with you disrespecting their mascot. Like, if it's the real mascot, like if you go to Georgia and you beat Georgia and then you're like, ha ha ha, and you like kick the bulldog,
that's
not okay. But you go to Florida State, you go to any place. I kind of thought about this. I was like, if somebody came to A&M and did this, like, would I be okay with it? Like, no. But would I want the dude to get like suspended or anything? Like, no.
In reality, probably not.
Like, no. Like, I honestly don't think I'd be all that upset about it. Like, okay, cool.
I mean, coach will gripe to him, but that'll be about
Exactly. And my whole thing is that, like, this kid obviously is passionate. He clearly heard for weeks and weeks and weeks, oh, you're NC State, you have no chance to get Florida State. You're NC State, you have no chance to get Florida State. And they walk in and they beat Florida State.
And beat them pretty handily.
And they're like, heck yeah, like, you're darn right I beat Florida State after you told me you couldn't. And like, signifying that with, spitting at middle field. If that's the way you want to do it, it's not grabbing your crotch and flipping off fans. So
that is true.
I guess you got that going for you. The last one, which is what you alluded to, is in fact Baker Mayfield going to the center of the horseshoe and attempting to plant the Oklahoma flag. Thumbs up or thumbs down on Baker Mayfield?
Absolutely 100% thumbs up. I am all in on that.
So
and the reason I dig it more than anything is because, the big thing with OU is always like staking your claim. Because, the Sooners... Like,
it's the whole prairie mindset.
Yeah, it's like, the Sooners in 1889, they snuck overnight to go grab their land. And they literally planted their flag. Like, this is our spot now.
Right.
We now own this. And, I mean, Baker Mayfield, he made it a point where a lot of people were really griping, about...
A lot.
About Ohio State last year. Whenever they were playing all that stuff over their game. And Baker was like, we are going to shut these people up. We're going to go do what we do.
Right. And they did.
And they did. And he had the opportunity to go plant the flag at midfield. And I was like, you know what? That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And on a similar note with Baker Mayfield, because Baker has gotten to a point where he's more or less become a little bit of a discount Johnny Manziel as far as the personality. I mean, it's like
with the whole running away from the police and whatnot.
Well, not just that, but also like griping, like pregame before Baylor. He's like yelling to some of the Baylor players.
Yeah. He is
like, you guys forgot who Daddy is. You guys forgot who Daddy is.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I like it.
It's got some balls.
Talk some smack every once in a while.
I mean, I like it too. I was in a Twitter conversation with some people, and we were kind of talking about old A&M Big 12 days. And it was like that kind of thing that it was like, I was talking about how I've really always wanted to go see a football game at AT&T Jones in Lubbock. I think that stadium's cool. I think it's great.
It's all right.
I really think it's a great stadium. I love the Texas Tech logo scoreboard and everything. Like, I love that place. I've loved that stadium since they upset Texas in that stupid game in 2008. I think it's just a really cool stadium, and I think that stadium is just a place where like upsets want to happen because the students want it so bad. Like, it just kind of feels like that to me. So like we're talking about that on Twitter, and they were talking about how much they hated Tech and how much they hated going to Lubbock and whatever. And I never got any of that being not a student during the Big 12 era. But
I have some context for you here in a minute.
Right. But we were talking about all this stuff, and I told them on Twitter, I was like, I wish that we still had the hate. Like, I wish that the hate was on campus. Like, it's kind of here this week for Alabama, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's not like I wish week in and week out it was like, oh man, we have to play such and something. Oh, no. I hate playing Texas Tech. Oh, I hate playing Oklahoma. Oh, like, anger. Like, I want to be like mad instead of just like, oh, who are we playing this week? Oh, we're playing Auburn. Oh, okay. Who are we playing? We're playing Ole Miss. Okay, cool. Like, that's the way it is, and I don't really like that. It doesn't. It's not the kind of environment that I want to be a rabid fan in.
Yeah, I mean, so with my Texas Tech experience, I got the chance to go back in 2011
Right.
for the last game. And that environment was extremely intense. There was a lot of anger, a lot of tension.
Oh, yeah, because they hate A&M a lot.
Oh, yeah, they really don't like us at all. I mean, I went back there last year.
Yeah.
And they were still selling anti-Texas A&M shirts.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you walk around College Station, you won't find an anti-Texas Tech shirt anywhere because we just don't care.
Well, I mean, it feels like the whole, we hate Texas, but they try not to care. Texas Tech hates A&M.
Yeah.
It's like the whole, you always hate somebody.
So the way I've always viewed this is you have A&M and Texas are the older brothers that are always button heads. Texas Tech's this, like the adopted step kid, redhead, who's always trying to, pay attention to me. I mean, because they do that to everybody. It's not just us. They do it to Oklahoma State. They do it to OU. They do it to Texas. They do it to TCU.
Because Tech feels like that team that's, right on the cusp always.
Dude, they're on such an island in Lubbock. You don't have a lot of, people that you're just, right on top of. Your closest conference opponents are Kansas State, Oklahoma State, OU, and TCU. Those are your closest conference opponents.
Right.
And, and that makes sense for them, I mean, Texas Tech, I said when I went, my mom got called names that weren't great for wearing A&M and Tech gear because my little brother was getting ready to go to Tech. Guy next to me got nailed in the head with a bottle when it got thrown from a student section. Yeah, it was just
nasty.
But it was absolutely glorious when we're up by however much we were.
Right, a lot.
With 5 minutes to go. And they just start pouring out. We started singing Happy Trails.
Right.
And they were not happy.
Exactly.
I mean, our whole section was completely surrounded by Rangers by the end of the game because, of how many issues. Because, I mean, you put us right next to the student section, there's going to be
problems.
There's going to be fisticuffs. It's going to be bad.
Well, I have a good buddy who went to SFA, and that was their whole thing is SFA always will go and sit, right next to students, or the visitors will get put right next to students at SFA, and they're a rowdy bunch.
Oh yeah.
So you start getting visitors next to the diehards, and sometimes some crazy stuff can go down.
Cough, cough, Olsen Field, cough, cough.
Absolutely. I mean, that's absolutely no exception. So we're thumbs up on Baker Mayfield, then?
Thumbs up on Baker
Thumbs
Mayfield.
up on.
I am in it.
I wish that he would have planted it 3 feet deep into the field.
Just into the turf. Screw it.
Here's the thing, though, is that could have cost a little bit of money.
It's artificial turf.
That I kind of understand. It would have cost a little bit of money. It would have cost a little bit of fix. It still doesn't matter to me. I'm super thumbs up on that. I think it's awesome. If you beat somebody on their home turf when you're not supposed to beat somebody on their home turf, take your liberty. Go ahead, roll with it. That's awesome.
I feel like in college football today, home field advantage just doesn't quite mean what it used to.
No.
And, I mean, you're seeing that because the home records of a lot of these teams are going down and down and down.
Yeah. But, I mean, you still see, little glimpses of it.
Sure.
We saw a glimpse of it when Iowa played Penn State. Now, Iowa didn't win, but Iowa played up in that game. Iowa played up to a different level in that game to get that close to beating Penn State and almost pull it off.
It was a good game.
You see it, the same kind of thing, Georgia's been very good at home this season.
Oh, yes.
And in recent past, barring the Tennessee miracle. We're going to talk about here right now Washington State. And they're defending their home field and how great that was.
I'm happy for them. They're doing well.
Absolutely. With that comes talk about Mike Leach.
Yeah.
Mike Leach is a just golden, wonderful man in college football because he honestly just embodies everything that college football is all about. He, to me, is just such a good head coach. He's on the sideline. He never looks panicked, nor does he ever look excited, but he never looks mad. He always just looks very just, It's like, yeah, the game's going on, so that's a thing. Like, he's very just not, I mean, it's a mix of, like, laziness and lack of care, but it's neither one of those because he is neither lazy nor does he not care.
Yeah.
He absolutely does care. This week in a press conference, Mike Leach was asked about Oregon, the upcoming opponent for Washington State, to which he responded that Autzen Stadium, which is the stadium that Oregon plays in, is the loudest in the Pac-12. He, however, then went on to say that he's played in plenty of places that were louder. He did say that Arkansas Little Rock was the loudest.
That's interesting.
So I don't know where that came from. He said it was a super concrete stadium and blah blah blah, but he said that was the loudest. But really the first two he mentioned, he said Oklahoma's louder. He said A&M's louder, and he went on and he named some. Georgia, LSU, and he mentioned a lot of stadiums that people kind of think of as daunting places to play. Is that interesting to you that he's still talking about how loud those places are, even when he's been removed from playing a lot of those teams for 5 years or so?
Well, I like it just because, it gives you context, because a lot of places where you go in this nation, you get put in a little bubble and you really see yourself thinking to yourself, like, especially with Oregon. Oregon seems to think like, oh man, by far and away, we have the best uniforms, which they got really nice uniforms.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. It's like we have the best uniforms, we got the loudest stadium. It's not the biggest, but it's the loudest. When I think of like along those same lines, you come down, you get to the Big 12, and you start thinking, okay, what are the loudest stadiums in the Big 12? But then you get exposed to the SEC. So
right.
It's like once you get outside of your bubble, you start to recognize truly how loud some places can get.
And I'll say, even when you get to the SEC, you get out of the SEC and you get into the Big Ten. Because
sure.
I think that in recent years, attendance and really just, I don't know, not care, but just the level of show out by a lot of these student populations in the Big Ten is fantastic.
I would say probably my favorite student section up in the Big Ten, without a doubt, is Wisconsin.
I completely agree with you.
Oh my gosh, at Camp Randall,
they get rowdy. They get insane.
A&M needs to schedule a home and home with those guys bad.
That
would be fun.
They get rowdy, and it's fun to watch because you see teams like that even though sometimes they go through some hard seasons and whatnot. Those stadiums get packed on Saturday nights when they're playing. Even Saturday afternoons, but especially Saturday night games. Those Big Ten schools pack them in, and those are some crazy atmospheres.
Oh yeah,
those are absolutely crazy atmospheres. We saw some in the past couple of weeks. We're going to see a lot more in the upcoming weeks. It's time now to take a look back at our picks from the previous week.
Sounds good.
We actually recorded them for the first time because we got smart and said, hey, why think what we picked when we could just know what we picked?
Yeah.
The first game we picked last week was the Texas-Iowa State game. You picked Iowa State.
They were pretty hot garbage.
Well, both teams were pretty hot garbage,
Yeah.
to be fair. I picked that other team, and that other team won.
Yeah.
The USC-Washington State game, which was just such an insanely fun game to watch.
It was a good game to watch.
I do not in any way regret that I had to stay up until 1 o'clock or whatever to finish it. Absolutely fantastic game to watch. Again, huge hats off to Mike Leach. Did a great job. I wish him only the best. Big Mike Leach fan. Think he's great. You picked USC though, so
did I?
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I picked Washington State.
That's fine. Like I said, it was one of those that was kind of where it could have been.
It absolutely
I'm definitely
was.
happy for Washington State, though.
It absolutely was. We had the Vandy, Florida game. We both picked Florida, and we both seemed pretty smart in doing so.
My one prediction on that game, I expected it to be a lot more low scoring than it ended up being.
Oh, yeah.
Like 38-24 was not even close to what I thought it was going to be.
Right. We had the Georgia-Tennessee game, of which we both picked Georgia.
Oh, man, Georgia won so big.
Yeah, they shut them out. It was real nasty. Tennessee is looking real bad right about now. We had the Mississippi State-Auburn game.
Yep.
Which I was very stupid and wrong about. I will learn from my lesson and stop thinking that Mississippi State is good, I promise. I still think Nick Fitzgerald's really talented and really good, but Mississippi State as a football team is, I don't think.
Well, I think Mississippi State was made look very good by a very bad LSU team. We're learning that.
Yes. I mean, slowly we're learning about how bad LSU kind of really is.
Yeah.
We picked the Oklahoma State Tech game. Both of us picked the upset. The upset did not occur, though it was close.
Yeah.
It was a very, very hard-fought, valiant effort by Cliff Kingsbury's guys, and they could not pull it off.
They actually played a little bit of defense there from time to time.
They did, and they had a great chance to go down and win the game, and they just couldn't get it done. Upset for them, but Tech's gonna have some. I think this year they may get one. I think they may get a hold of somebody this year.
I'd say I'm looking at it. I'm thinking. Keep an eye on OU. Yeah, that game's always fun.
Oklahoma or TCU or I think they get a hold of somebody this year. They're a good offense. They get a hold of somebody. Yeah. We picked the Bama game because I don't know, we like pain and death, and of course we were both right.
I mean, murder on national television.
In the absolute just most angering game, we picked Virginia Tech Clemson. You picked Clemson.
Sure did.
I picked Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech should have won the game. I don't know why they played so bad. It baffles me how Clemson continues. Clemson, for the past 3 years, has played exactly as well as they've needed to play to win in every single game.
Yep. That's the way they roll.
And they've lost only 2 of them.
It's pretty impressive.
Like, it's really aggravating is what it is. Because they always look like, they play like Boston College really bad, and it's like, whoa, like Clemson's not good, and then they crush Louisville. It's like this is not a thing that needs to happen. It hurts my brain. I can't process it. Finally, we picked the A&M South Carolina game. We both picked A&M. We were both very wrong on the score, seeing as we both picked them to win by more than 7. In total, we were both 6 out of 9 on our picks.
There you go.
So there you go.
Could be worse.
This week, we do have 10 picks.
Okay.
Just to give that nice little round number. We're going to start with the unranked and move our way up, the rankings as we go, ultimately culminating with a game featuring number 1 and Alabama. So first up, this week does not have a lot of super interesting games that are, really pick worthy.
Oh, not at all.
We got Arkansas and South Carolina. Arkansas going to South Carolina, take on the Gamecocks in what actually might end up being a really pretty good football game.
Yeah, that's got some potential. I mean, these are 2 teams that we've obviously seen in consecutive weeks. Arkansas is a really good little rushing attack, but, obviously I think if South Carolina can find any kind of passing game on them, I like the Gamecocks in that game.
Really?
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting one. I think I like South Carolina at home.
I absolutely am going to pick Arkansas. I really don't think that South Carolina honestly has any chance in that game. I think that Arkansas showed their ability to run the ball kind of against A&M, and South Carolina showed the inability to stop you from running the ball. And I think that, with their offensive line, that could pose problems for South Carolina. Also, I think that with South Carolina playing A&M this past week, getting sacked 7 times, I think that Arkansas saw that and found the way to beat South Carolina. So I think Arkansas is probably going to win that game.
Is it too late to switch picks?
Is it too late? Yes, it's too late to switch picks.
Okay, fine.
You must lay in your grave.
I'm fine.
Lay in your South Carolina Gamecock grave.
Let's go Cox. Gamecocks. We got it.
It's not going to be good. LSU traveling to 21 Florida. We just talked about how we don't think the Tigers are all that great.
No.
But it's still LSU. They're going to Florida. Florida about to finish up their big homestand before they're going to have to go play some away games. Who you like in that one?
Gators.
Really?
I like the Gators. LSU's just, they haven't shown anything to me. Like, as a team, they just,
they've shown plenty to me. I just don't know if it's been good.
It's not good. Like I said, point being, they have not shown me anything good. And I look at LSU, and it's just a team that doesn't really have much of an identity right now. So
I agree with that.
But, Florida, one thing that you do know about them, more than anything, is they have a defense. And as of last week, looks like they might have an offense. Who knows?
Well, they had more of an offense, right, than Vandy had a defense.
That's probably
so. I think, and after Vandy loses 59-0 to Alabama, I think that's a safe bet that Vandy's defense is not exactly the greatest thing in the world. I think Florida wins the game too, especially being in Florida. The fans, they've only lost one game. As many problems as there are at Florida right now, they're 5-1 or 4-1 or whatever they are. They've only lost one game, and they lost it to a Michigan team that I still think is pretty good, who's gonna have a test this week. But there's still hope for Florida in the East. There's still hope for maybe even legitimately a playoff shot if they obviously win out. They got a shot for a playoff spot, possibly. So, still things to fight for in Florida. I think that LSU has proven that they have no defense, and their offense is kind of a little bit there. But with Florida's shutdown defense, I just don't really foresee that kind of coming out. 13 Miami traveling down to Tallahassee, take on Florida State.
Yeah. Florida State's been quite a conundrum because they really just haven't played a lot of games yet. But the games
with the Hurricanes and everything,
very good. You got undefeated Miami coming in.
And they looked like they were struggling last week against Duke and then really pulled away and tore it up.
Yeah.
That game was very, very close for a while, and they won it 31-6.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at this. Looking at this game, you got the spread right now. It's in at 3 in favor of Miami.
3? 3 points?
Hell, matchup predictors giving Florida State a 62.8% chance to win.
You're kidding.
No.
I would pick Miami by 2 touchdowns.
That's kind of where I'm at. I think Miami's a better team.
I pick Miami by 2 touchdowns. I don't think it's close at all. Florida State is really bad, and I think that they really have nothing left to fight for.
Yeah.
And as much as people want to say that Jimbo Fisher can, get them excited and generate some excitement in that program, which I believe he probably can, at this point, I just don't see it.
I think Mark Richt's going to get it going.
I really just don't see it at Florida State. I think that Florida State maybe does still have something kind of to play for, but Miami clearly has more to play for. Undefeated, going down to Florida State to play a rival they haven't played in a couple of years. This is a, not maybe as much anymore, this is a big rivalry game. They do not like each other.
No, not at all.
Florida State and Miami are not friends. And so I think that, Miami goes down, beats Florida State at Florida State. Obviously not as much of a statement as it might have been had Florida State not faltered so much. But it's still a statement for Miami to go do it. And I think that they're going to go down there and get it done.
It'll be an interesting game.
Ole Miss traveling to number 12 Auburn.
Yeah, I'm thinking Auburn. I think the Tigers have continued.
Ole Miss didn't show you enough last week against Alabama to show you that they could beat Auburn.
I think Ole Miss proved to me that probably the cheerleaders could have played a better game.
Ooh.
It was pretty bad. Yeah, I mean, I have a hard time giving Ole Miss any kind of credit at all coming into this game. Spread's 22.5 in favor of Auburn. I'm going Auburn.
I agree with you. I think that is probably the only legitimate pick you can make. Ole Miss looks really, really bad. Really young. I mean, they still have some, years to build up, though, with all the allegations and whatnot. It's going to be hard. But, Auburn is the winner there. And me, man, we're clicking today. We're having some agreement here.
Oh, yeah.
Having some agreement here. Maryland traveling to number 10 Ohio State.
Yeah, as much as I like Maryland, they have just been so stricken with injury at quarterback.
Yep. That to me is the number one reason why I really don't think they have much of a chance.
Yeah, no way. I mean, I like I said, I like them, but I'd love to pick an upset there, but it's gonna be Ohio State, and it's probably not gonna be terribly close.
I think that's probably right. Although, I mean, this is a team that, they have some good talent. They, again, have lost a lot of players to injury early on here in the season.
Now, they did take down Minnesota last week, which was good for them.
Right.
Good game. But, I mean, hell, they lost to UCF 38-10.
Going to Columbus, I don't see it happening.
No, me either.
Number 9, Nebraska. Or, excuse me, number 9, Wisconsin.
I was about to say.
No. Ha, ha, ha. Number 9, Wisconsin traveling to Nebraska.
Man, you know what? What is up with this Huskers team? Like, last few years, they're not very good. And I'm not going to give them much credit. I think Wisconsin's going to roll.
You think Wisconsin's going to roll?
Oh, yeah.
Are you sure?
On Wisconsin. Go eat some cheese.
This is your last chance.
Dude, Wisconsin's going to win.
It's your last chance.
Wisconsin by a couple scores. I think they'll be all right.
I think that I'm more fun than you, and I'm going to pick Nebraska. Simply because of this. Nebraska has played a couple of really close games. The games that they've lost have been very close. They've been against fairly good opponents. They played Northern Illinois, didn't lose by a ton. Getting home, playing a ranked opponent at home, that place used to be a terrifying place to play.
Keyword, used to be.
I agree with you. But you know that all of those fans remember that. You know that all those fans remember the height of the Big 12 days. They remember even early on Big 10 days. They remember how scary it was to play at Nebraska. They remember what it could be like if they choose to kind of get themselves excited. I think it could be a very close, very interesting game. I'm going to pick Nebraska.
Nebraska squeaked out 7-point win over Arkansas State to start the year.
And
they beat Rutgers by 10. 10.
Listen, I'm not debating with you about what the facts are. I'm saying that I like them. I'm going to give them a chance because upsets happen. Upsets happen in college football. And it seems to me like this year, the Big Ten decided it wanted to get really happy with upsets.
Yeah.
It seems like the SEC has decided upsets will not occur. The only upsets, quote unquote, that will occur is when ranked teams play other ranked teams, is what it seems like in the SEC. It seems like the Pac-12 doesn't matter. It seems like the ACC decided it wanted to be really bad unless its name was Clemson. But the Big Ten has decided, for whatever reason, that you're allowed to have giant upsets, as we saw with Iowa Penn State. Again, didn't happen, but boy, oh boy, was it close. The last play of the game, let's not forget that. The last play of the game is when Penn State beat unranked Iowa. Unranked Nebraska, I know Iowa's undefeated, that's fine. Unranked Nebraska at home, taking on Wisconsin, I'm going to give them a chance. I think maybe they have a chance.
Cheeseheads are going to win. I'm going to stick with it.
You're probably right. I think the only ranked-on-ranked matchup this week, and it's certainly the only one worth noting, is 23 West Virginia going to 8 TCU.
Yeah, no, Frogs coming off that bye week, and they looked really, really good against
really good
against Oklahoma State. Man, I want to play upset, but I'm having such a hard time looking at these games and saying that it's going to happen.
I agree with you.
Just TCU's offense has just been clicking along. Kenny Hill looks like he's finally getting where he needs to be. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. Will Greer over at West Virginia is just having himself a year. He's playing very well. This one's going to be a shootout.
I think that is accurate. It probably will be a shootout. 72.7%, 965 yards, 9 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. A 162.2 quarterback rating. That is Kenny Hill right now.
Yeah.
Okay. That's real good.
That's not bad.
Against a very highly ranked, very highly rated, everybody was, kind of going all in on Oklahoma State. He put up 66% passing, about 67% passing, 228 yards, a touchdown and an interception. He is going to rip apart West Virginia, I think. I said this about Oklahoma State going about TCU. I was wrong. I'm going to take what I learned, and I'm going to use my transitive property, and TCU is now the king in the Big 12, I think. I think that TCU can really, really, really make its statement here against West Virginia by beating them to death. Again, it's in Fort Worth. This is a home game for TCU. If West Virginia comes in and upsets TCU, big things begin to happen. But if TCU can defend the home, can beat West Virginia, I think that if that happens, it will be because Kenny Hill looked really, really good. It's going to elevate him to probably maybe the top of the Heisman, charts or whatever. I think that it's very contingent on him looking really, really good. I think he is going to look really, really good. I think that TCU is going to win, namely because West Virginia's loss is a loss against Virginia Tech. And as we saw, Virginia Tech did not look great against Clemson. As we go through this season, we're starting to value wins and losses differently. And that loss we're starting to value a lot less as a good loss. Same thing with that Florida-Michigan loss. As Michigan continues to struggle to find its way, we are valuing the Florida loss to Michigan a lot less. So I think TCU has that game down, and I think it's going to be. I know I was wrong with Oklahoma State quarterback Mason Rudolph. I know I was wrong. I will admit that I was wrong, but I'm going to go double down, and I'm going to say that TCU is going to beat the mess out of West Virginia, and it's going to be Kenny Hill's coming out party, if you will.
I think we're going to have a little bit of fun. I'm going to go flip it. I think I'm going to go West Virginia.
What?
I know. My plan, I think I'm kind of hoping what's going to end up happening is TCU just coming off as a little bit of a high that last week.
You are lucky I did not click down on the spreadsheet yet, or else you would have been stuck in your grave.
So, no, I'm at a point where I think, you know what? Maybe TCU's kind of sitting here. Maybe they are getting a little bit of a hangover over that last game. They're like, yeah, that was really good. They had that bye week. They're just kind of chilling around. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, West Virginia's coming off of a win over Kansas, which was 56-34. Talking about a high-scoring game. We're talking about really bad defense. But
yeah. I have a question for you.
What up?
Who's the head coach of TCU football team?
That would be some dude by the name of Patterson.
It's Gary Patterson.
Yeah.
Does it seem to you that Gary Patterson lets his players just kind of sit around and just kind of revel in their victory for a week?
Probably not.
The answer is no, Rob, and TCU is going to win the game.
Stop
talking about it.
I'm going West Virginia.
Michigan State is traveling to number 7 Michigan. The last time they were there, stupid things occurred. You may remember the surrender cobra. You may remember broken hips and surgeries and whatnot. You absolutely remember the absolutely awful fail and breakdown of a punt formation by Michigan to win the game. All they do is punt the ball and they win the game. They miss it. The punter has a bad snap to the punter. Punter picks it up, tries to punt it, falls right into the arms of Michigan State defender. They run it back for a touchdown with no time on the clock. The hopes of Michigan's undefeated season are ruined. Michigan falters. Michigan State looks like the hero killers of the world, and the face of college football is changed forever with one of the dumbest plays that ever happened.
It was a pretty dumb play. I mean, that whole sequence was just wild. I know the guy was just trying to get rid of the ball, but I mean, that was dumb. It was incredible how that happened.
Does it happen again?
Man, this game's tough to look at because I look at Michigan State and their loss that they've had, where they got the absolute piss beat out of them by Notre Dame. And, Michigan, outside of, that Florida game early on when they pretty much did what they were supposed to do, beat Cincinnati pretty handily, struggled a little bit against Air Force, and then ended up pulling away against Purdue. Now they're sitting after a bye week. Rivalry game at home. I think Michigan's really looking to avenge that. I'm going to go Wolverines.
I'm also going to go Wolverines. We're going to have to go through these last couple of picks a little quickly, running out of time here. Got number 5, Georgia, traveling to Vandy. You got the Bulldogs. You got the Commodores.
Bulldogs big.
Okay, I think that's probably the easy pick. But hold your tongue, because here's the thing. Georgia's had some good games. I agree with you. But Vandy's also had some good games, is what an insane person would say, and not me, because Georgia is going to win by a lot of points, and Vandy's going to lose by a lot of points because they're a bad football team.
Yeah, Georgia's a pretty damn good football team.
As we get to the final game, we don't have a ton of time to discuss it. I guarantee that next week's episode will be spent solely discussing this game. A&M at home, Kyle Field inside the hate barn, getting loud, rowdy for the first ever night game between A&M and Alabama since A&M joined the SEC. Alabama has won since 2012. They have dominated in most of those meetings. The last time they were here, they had 3 pick sixes. The last time they were here, we had hope, and it was just ripped away by Nick Saban's death machines. What is going to happen on Saturday night?
About what you expect, but maybe not as bad as you expect. My thought is, coming into this game, I think, a lot of people are saying, 26.5 point spread now. Oh yeah, bam, we'll cover easy, whatever. I'm not buying into that. You will give me my pick. I will pick Alabama. Because
I only figured.
I mean, because let's face it, it's Alabama. They're the best team in the country right now outside of Clemson. They have played extremely well. I mean, for the love of God, they beat their first 2 SEC opponents by a combined score of 125-3. That being said, those 2 teams are hot garbage.
Right, yeah.
So I think you're talking about a night game at Kyle Field. And something that I thought was really interesting is the freshmen and even some sophomores and juniors got their first real taste of how loud Kyle Field can be.
Absolutely. I mean, last weekend was an angry crowd, an energized crowd, and it wasn't even close to capacity.
No.
If we can pack people in to Kyle Field, we give ourselves a shot. Here's the thing. I don't think we have a shot if we don't pack in Kyle Field.
No.
If we can pack in Kyle Field, if we can get the place loud and rowdy and mad and just ready to go, I think crazy things can happen.
I agree.
They have some guys out with injuries. They have, a little bit of an identity issue, kind of. They have not played a great team. They opened up against Florida State. As we see,
they're not very
Florida State's not great. Florida State has struggled sincerely since Francois went down against Alabama. Now, before that, they were playing Alabama pretty well. Again, Alabama has not played a great team outside of Florida State, if you want to call them a quote-unquote great team. They haven't had that giant real test yet, and certainly not on the road. If we can show up, get loud, get angry, get mad, get everybody to be inside or around Kyle Field yelling their heads off for a couple of hours, it could get crazy. It could get wild, and it could get crazy. I'm going to be sitting on the front row in front of the band, having a great old time. I am sincerely hoping at the end of that night, I am standing on the 50-yard line surrounded by 50,000 other people. That being said, I'm definitely not going to pick A&M.
No.
Gonna pick Bama because I think that's probably the smart pick. You have a score in mind? 26.5 point spread currently, or what?
That's what
whatever
it
is. You think they'll cover?
My pick, I said 42-31 Alabama.
Okay.
I say 42-31. Bama's up pretty good for the majority of the game, but we get a little bit of energy down the stretch. The team starts showing some spunk. And what it'll do is, we get a couple scores late, kind of show ourselves that maybe Alabama gets another one just to seal it. But I think that this team will look at this opportunity as, a little bit of a moral victory. Hey, this is Alabama, best team in the nation, but we played up. We did what we were supposed to do.
I think it's going to be 38-21 Bama.
Okay.
I think that they have yes, it's better, more talented. I think they're a little bit more together, at least, of an offense. The defense, I think, they have some guys that are injured. So, obviously they're being replaced by robots. So it's not like it's going to be a giant drop-off in production.
No.
But I think it is going to be closer. Whenever I saw that the spread was that crazy, I immediately say I would have picked the under, or I would have picked A&M to cover. That just sounds absolutely ridiculous to me. It's 26.5 points. I don't think A&M. My logic says A&M's not going to win.
No.
There is a situation in which A&M can win. If A&M shows up, they play a clean game. If we show up, we play that clean game that we haven't had. We have the offensive game with play calling that we haven't had. We have the defensive game where people make plays, where Armani Watts doesn't drop interceptions, where, the guys are just there in the right place at the right time. They're calling blitzes. They're being creative. Again, if that happens, you have a chance. With an angry, loud crowd, we have a chance. I just think it's too many variables for it to actually be, not guaranteed, but actually for you to assume that it might happen. It just seems so outlandish to me.
Yeah, I have a hard time looking at, with, to your point about variables, there's just way too much to look at with this team and say definitively they have a chance. I like what we have seen and the improvement that we have seen in
There's been a lot of improvement, absolutely.
And, you're talking about teams that we've played up to this point, which aren't outstanding by any stretch. Arkansas is not great. South Carolina is not great. But this is a team that, despite the things that they have lacked, within our last 3 games, we've trailed at the half every time. And we did something that we did not do against UCLA. We made adjustments.
Right.
We focused
that
up.
I have been thinking, or I've been convinced that Kevin Sumlin has been unable to do since he got here, is make halftime adjustments.
But they've made adjustments. They've come out looking stronger in the second half of games. They have came out. And, this team may lack experience. This team may lack some depth at positions, at key positions. But one thing this team does not lack is give a damn.
They don't.
I think
that's very true.
I think this team's actually going to give a fight. They're going to give Alabama everything they can. I don't think they win, but I think that they're going to give the crowd at Kyle Field something to be happy about.
It's going to be the coaches giving their all, the players giving their all, and the fans giving their all for us to give us a good chance to win Saturday night against Alabama. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be very exciting. We'll have a fantastic, probably, breakdown for you next week, assuming that we're not still in Mexico partying from the upset. We thank you so much for listening to the Junction Cast. We hope that if you like it, you'll share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with somebody who's a sports fan. We thank you. We'll see you next week. Thanks. Gig 'em.
Gig 'em.